Looking back one more time. This is about winning in holistic health. Now, a precious listener has a question for me and for you, my listeners. I have really failed to move past my failures. How do I then move onto a life of abundance that you so passionately describe? That is true, I do. But guess what? I heard you, and I'm here to address your questions on this week's episode. But in the meantime, allow me to welcome my lovely and amazing listeners to another of the 𝘁𝗵𝗕 Healing Podcast with your host, Dr. Lillian Kalisa. This is a space we speak everything holistic health and healing. And we are in the season this year where we've been talking clean out. That is, we're cleaning out our minds, our bodies, and our spaces for holistic health and especially for finding healing. So this week, we are still in the series of answering your precious questions that keep coming. Thank you for them, for they are getting me to realize that you guys were actually listening. Thank you. I know I'm always talking about living a life of abundance that I believe is for each one of us for as long as we are living in true and authentic health. So someone is asking, I have really failed to move past my failures. How do I then move on to the life of abundance that you so passionately describe? That's true. My response, look back one more time. And this is about winning in holistic health. Listen to me. My precious one, look back one more time. Yes, to win, we have to look back one more time. The detail is in that turnaround. Now, have you heard statements like, every moment wasted looking back keeps us from moving forward? Have you heard such statements? Now look, they could be for different explanations, but I do not necessarily believe this. I do not believe that looking back is a wastage of time. Now, your life, this is why I think so. Because our lives are the biggest lessons. Without looking back into our lives, we are practically skipping past the lessons and leaving important keys to our better tomorrow. I believe the greatest lessons in life are in the ones that we have lived. As usual, to explain this, allow me to start at story time. This is a story close to me. It's about my son. My son and I are having lessons. Always look back. You are safer that way. And I'll tell you why. You know how it's easier for children? My son is 10, going on to 11. And I told him that, by the way, the last time we had the lesson on looking back, I told him, I'm going to use this as a podcast because it's been our lesson. We need to share it with somebody. You know how it's easier for children to lose their property. You know, they go to school, come back with no sweater, come back with no pair of socks, or come back with, something missing, a water bottle left at school. So we've been having this lesson. Every time you stand up, look back at where you have been and see what you left behind. This is what we are teaching each other, especially mom teaching son. Look back. When you look back, you will realize you left something and you will stand and pick it up. And guess what? That was my own lesson. I always left things behind. I lost my teacup. I lost my stethoscope. I lost my pen. My phone. I always lost something. And this time, I have been deliberate on looking back. Every time I stand up, I take a second look and look back. And this is what I'm teaching my son, that if you do that, you will not lose your property. You will not leave a place messy before the next user, say a toilet or a bathroom or your seat in classroom or a public place where we're seated. Always stand up and look back. 1, for yourself to be more careful, but 2, for the next user to make it neater. And there is my story. But what's the lesson? The lesson in this is that we have to go back to the basics. Where did you lose what you are yearning for? And that is the important lesson that I and my son are learning, and I want to share it with you. So I want to share with you simple steps on this lesson. And it's really about getting back to the basics. You have to go through that. And before I do that, it even reminds me of when we are in a patient consultation. I mean, that's what I know how to do. We always ask the patient to go back to that time. When did it start? Or how long have you had this situation? What was the time between you being well and drifting into being unwell? That point is very important. The duration of being unwell is always important and is a determinant for so many of the treatment and management plans that we plan with them. So here are my steps onto getting back to the basics. Step 1. You're doing it because you are finding out who you are. Remember, who you are is not what you are now. You were somebody, and these are the questions you ask. You sit with yourself and ask, who are you really? And there are tools to guide you on finding your temperaments, finding what fascinates others about you, finding what is your strong point and what makes you who you are. And what are your core beliefs? I've had a podcast on this. If you look up the last podcast that we shared on spiritual well-being, the last 2 podcasts, I described the importance of having your core beliefs right at your heart so that nobody will convince you out of your core. In asking who you are, answer or find out, when were you happiest? What is the happiest time of your life? I remember in the last podcast, the last 2 podcasts on spiritual well-being, I triggered you into finding that moment. It was for a reason. I hope that you can point out that time when you were most happiest. Sit in that time and realize what happens to you when you are happy. When are you happiest? What brings out that best happiness of you? And that is the time when you're giving off of yourself, you're giving off of your skill, you're giving off of your talent, you're giving off of love, and that is who you are. Step 2, what changed? You have to answer the question, what changed? And guess what? For you to answer that, you have to go back to when was the significant switch from who you were that you were most happy and who you are now, a version that you aren't proud of. Guess what? You cannot answer that before going down memory lane. My dears, you cannot run from memory lane. What changed? Step 3, to sit in that truth, face it, and unmask all that it entails regarding your truth. Things like, what roles did you play to get to that truth? And I'm talking about taking responsibility, being the main consistent character in your story. Eliminate the other people and sit in that story, because guess what? Who is consistent? As the scenes keep playing, it is you, my dear. So you have to be true and dig into this by bringing out your authenticity. That process enables you to bring out the authenticity that is within you, in the hardness, in the happiness, in the realities. In the last podcast, I remember mentioning that authenticity guarantees spiritual wellness. This was the reason why. So thank you that you are actually listening for you to ask such a question. So I hope you'll be able to go through those steps. Who are you? What changed? And sit in those truths to unmask your truth and proudly walk with it. Through this, you are taking responsibility of your growth, your journey, your why. It is actually the first detailed step. This one of getting back to the basics is the first detailed step that I teach in the holistic health model that I share with my lovelies, with my people. I'll tell you that one thing is true. You have to do the work. Most of the time, it's easy to listen to these things. I find people and they tell me, I love your podcast. I've been listening. I've been following. But are you doing the work? Sit in. Don't let this be entertainment, for it befits the purpose for which it's out there to do. It's to change your life, to live a life of abundance. You have to do the work. Now, I love 𝗟ᵉ 𝗏. Listen, he's an author, usually a poetic author. Listen to what he says. We attract the people, places, and things that are a vibrational match of ourselves. So if a lesson is presenting itself to you again and again, you must allow yourself to confront it head-on and to truly experience it. Be still and breathe. Look for what that lesson is teaching you. Push through the fear, push through the emotions, and invite change from within. He says, be fully present, experiencing the lesson. You will move through it, beyond it, and you will no longer attract it into your life. Through the experience, you will identify and confront the barriers that keep you from peace, happiness, abundance, intimacy, and love. Craig says that this is growth. This is evolution of consciousness. This is the art of becoming. And he says it is self-love. My dears, you have to go down memory lane to find those answers, sit in your truth, and proudly walk into your growth after facing your truth. Here is my question for you. I know you ask me a question, I throw one back at you. Who are you? What is your truth, and how is that truth your asset for today and tomorrow? The truth is, we cannot heal when we do not know where the pain is and where it all started. That when is very important, and you cannot run from it. Okay? Sounds doable? Now I prepared some affirmations to tell your mind exactly what you're going to do. Okay? Your mind is going to do for you. And I prepared this specifically for you. Thank you for your question. I hope you get to use these affirmations this week, 2 weeks, a month. Make them your own until you sit in your truth and are proud of it to be your story. Let's go together. I am whole. While I might have a story of broken pieces, I am whole. Wholeness is my default setting that includes whole health. So today, I have the power to pick up the pieces from where they broke at and find the full me again. I have to do the work, and I purpose to start today. Yes, circumstances might derail me, like they always do, but I still have my big why and a journey to fulfill. I get back, start my story from where it fell off, and find my completeness in mind, body, and everything that surrounds me. I am at peace with my truth and make peace with my past. It is my story, and I am proud of the pieces. Well done. Listen to one more of the ones I love and I'm sharing with you. It's a coincidence that it's about authenticity. I love authenticity. It says authenticity is everything. You have to wake up every day and look into the mirror, and you want to be proud of the person who's looking back at you. And you can only do that if you're being honest with yourself and being a person of high character. You have an opportunity every single day to write that story of your life over and over again, says Aaron Rodgers. Aaron is an American football quarterback, and this quote he made is a game changer for me. Aren't I proud to lead you on this journey of abundance? I hope that you realize that if we find holistic health together, we will get there. The detail is important. So let's face the detail. Your host, Dr. Lillian Kalisa, here to add the glow to medicine. Keep those questions coming. Let's answer them together. I'll see you next week as we finish up. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.